Hello, All Israel News viewers. I'm Oriel Moran, and I'm here in the center of Israel, where just last night we had a rocket basically fall in the center of Israel, killing two elderly people in their 70s. And you can see behind me the damage that happened to this apartment building. We actually just got an alarm, basically telling us that we need to find shelter. And so we're actually going down inside the actual building in which the rocket hit. You are supposed to wait at least 10 minutes. Many people actually get hurt from the shrapnel and not from the rocket itself because they're not aware of the fact that the shrapnel that it's very, very large in size, can hit. And so we're doing our due diligence to stay safe. And so you stay 10 minutes inside shelter. So I'm actually going to see if I can get inside the building to see the damage that was done. You have to understand that this is just a residential building.
We're standing here next to an apartment that was hit by an Iranian rocket. What the Iranian regime is doing is they are firing indiscriminately towards millions of Israelis. They have been firing these cluster bombs. These cluster bombs are ballistic missiles that contain dozens of smaller rockets or bombs. But when we say smaller, it doesn't mean not deadly. These rockets have been fired, up to 80 rockets dispersed on a large area in central Israel, targeting millions of civilians as a strategy. This is a war crime by the Iranian regime, and this is exactly why we are operating in Iran right now, to make sure they cannot fire these missiles anymore, that we reduce their offensive capabilities.
Tell us about the work of the Home Front Command to basically mitigate damages like this and casualties.
Well, we're operating all across the board. One is offensively to make sure they can't fire the missiles. Once they do, aerial defense systems, and then the passive defenses. The Home Front Command, it's the sirens, it's the alerts, it's the guidance for the civilian population. We're doing everything we can to make sure our civilians are safe. And the best way to do that is to decapitate this Iranian regime's capabilities.
What's your message to Americans that say this isn't our war? Why are we involved? Why does it matter for Americans?
Well, when the Iranians say death to America, they say death to Israel. When they say death to Israel, death to America. That is what the Iranians say. This is a threat, as we've seen in the last 3 weeks almost. The Iranian regime have targeted over 12 countries. They have targeted anyone they can reach, and they are operating to reach further than that. This is a matter of time, and they are a threat to the entire region and the further west. They say it with their own words and their own attempts, targeting also American assets in the region.
So you can see that there's quite a lot of people that have gathered around here. Some are just curious bystanders, some of them are local, and you can see that it's a really devastating thing for such a sort of like small field neighborhood. It can happen quite literally to anyone, and from what I'm understanding, these two people were about 70-something years old, and you can literally see their walker. And I understand that they were not able to make it to the bomb shelter on time, even though the bomb shelter was right next to them, because they had some kind of disability that made it very difficult for them to come up. And so even though Home Front Command does give, you could say, ample time for them to be able to make it to the bomb shelter, still for many of the population in Israel, it is not so easy to get to the bomb shelter. Can you just tell me what you went through yesterday?
We got the warnings to go into the shelter, and so we were in the shelter when it happened. And when we heard the impact, it was obvious that it was somewhere really close by. But obviously we couldn't tell when. So after we received the message that we could go back to our homes. And when I looked at the news reporting, I recognized the building across the street. Yeah, I came out to see what's going on from afar, and check that my car was not hit, because my car is parked right here across the street. And yeah, it was swarming with ambulances and emergency workers and drones, and also lots of people watching. And
so you said that you've lived here for 10 years. Have you ever gone through anything like this in your time here?
A few times, actually.
How do you deal with this situation?
It's very frustrating, but one thing that gives us some kind of hope is people like you who are reporting on what's really happening here, and like giving a voice to the people that are actually experiencing it.
We're about 3 weeks into this war between Israel and Iran, and really between Iran and actually a lot of different countries around them. There's a lot of tension in the Middle East right now, and you can feel it on the streets of Israel, even though the Home Front Command has been a bit more lenient as to the freedom of movement. You can feel that even the roads, my way here was very, very empty. People are not so keen to leave their houses. They really do want to be near a bomb shelter. And on the other hand, you just feel a sense of people wanting this war to continue until the end. What does it mean till the end? Till the Iranian regime is taken down, till we know that there's not going to be another continuous threat, that we're not going to have to go through this thing again. Even though we are suffering in this situation, we are wanting to make sure that the threat is eliminated. What Israel is doing is that they're targeting the heads of the terror regime in Iran, and so they're basically eliminating the threat one by one. On a personal level, I can tell you that seeing the apartment of this elderly couple was so devastating. It's just really, really heartbreaking, and you can feel that the whole of Israel breaks with them. You could say there's only two, civilians, between the millions of people, and yet here in Israel, people feel things very, very deeply. Israel feels like in a sense, like a very small hometown. So when these things happen, you can feel it almost as if it happened to a family member of yours. I myself know two people here in Ramat Gan that I love dearly, around the same age, and the first thing I thought is, I hope it's not them, I hope it's not them. And so that is how small Israel is, and that's how deeply we feel it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want more Israel-related content, go to allisraelnews.com. Thank you guys for your prayers, and we will see you guys hopefully with better news in the next one.